The music from Sherry's concert is still echoing in your ears, as Mia excitedly pulls you through the crowded backstage area. The contrast between the bright, polished stage and the more utilitarian backstage corridors is stark, but Mia's enthusiasm keeps the energy alive.
Hurry up, we're going to miss all the fun. Sherry's after-parties are legendary.
Her grin is infectious, and you find yourself smiling as she leads you into a spacious lounge filled with soft music and an array of snacks and drinks. Sherry is already there, her presence commanding even in the relaxed setting. She's dressed in a casual yet chic outfit, a stark departure from her elaborate stage costume, but still oozing charisma.
Mia, you made it, and you brought a friend.
Her voice is warm and welcoming, her eyes scanning you briefly before returning to Mia with a knowing smile.
Of course, you think I'd miss this.
Sherry laughs softly, gesturing for the two of you to join her at a cozy seating area. The atmosphere is relaxed yet vibrant, the hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses creating an intimate yet lively ambience. As you settle in, Mia immediately grabs a plate and starts piling it with an assortment of snacks, her appetite as unrestrained as ever.
Don't judge me, I'm starving after all that dancing. Go for it, you earned it.
Mia grins at you, her cheeks puffing slightly as she takes a large bite of a mini sandwich.
You're the best.
Her enthusiasm is contagious as she digs in with gusto, clearly enjoying every bite. As Mia enjoys the spread, Sherry leans back in her seat, her posture elegant yet relaxed. She's holding a small plate herself, though her portions are much more modest.
It's always a balancing act. Being an idol means staying fit, but who can resist snacks like these?
Her words are casual, but there's a hint of longing in her tone as her gaze flickers to the dessert table.
Little indulgence, never hurt anyone.
Sherry chuckles softly, her fingers lightly tracing the rim of her glass.
You might be right, maybe just one.
She rises gracefully and selects a small pastry, her movements deliberate as she takes a dainty bite. Her smile softens, a mix of pleasure and guilt playing across her face as she savors the treat. The evening unfolds with a mix of laughter, music and dancing. Mia continues to snack enthusiastically, her carefree attitude bringing a lively energy to the group. Sherry, though more reserved, gradually opens up, sharing stories from her life as an idol and the challenges she faces behind the scenes. At one point, Sherry pulls out a secret stash of indulgent snacks, her cheeks flushing slightly as she explains.
Sometimes you just need a little comfort food after a long day.
The group shares the treats, the relaxed atmosphere making the exclusive after-party feel personal and unforgettable. As the night winds down, Sherry leans back with a contented sigh, her plate empty but her smile lingering.
Thanks for coming tonight. It's nice to unwind like this.
Her words are warm, and her gaze lingers on you for a moment before turning to Mia, her expression softening further. Mia, her energy finally waning, leans back against the plush seating, her eyes half-lidded.
That was perfect, I don't think I can move.
That's the sign of a good party. I think I've been filling out my jeans a little better lately. Not that I mind, I love having a little extra to show off. My fans seem to like it too, Tilda. Hey there, cutie, you here to admire the view? Haha, just kidding. But seriously, I've been feeling extra good lately.
Sherry's lithe and toned figure moves effortlessly under the club's sharp lights, her wide hips swaying with hypnotic precision. Her pink panties peek out teasingly between her firm, round-ass cheeks, emphasized by her thigh gap and the snug fit of her see-through skirt. Her crop top clings perfectly to her flat stomach, highlighting the definition of her toned midsection and the alluring curve of her waist. She moves with an air of confident allure, every step calculated to draw eyes to her flawless form. Sherry's playful smirk and piercing gaze exude self-assured sexuality, her dance routine a mesmerizing blend of grace and seduction that leaves the audience spellbound. Every flick of her hips and bounce of her step reinforces her dominance on stage, her slim but well-toned physique capturing every light, shadow, and gaze in the room. Sherry strolled casually through the bustling mall, her radiant smile and natural grace drawing admiring glances from passers-by, many of whom paused momentarily to take in her effortless elegance. She paused briefly to glance at a display window, the gentle sway of her hips as she shifted her weight adding an effortless allure to her movements, her reflection shimmering against the glass. Before she could continue, a small group of teenage girls spotted her, their excited whispers quickly escalating into delighted squeals as they rushed toward her, their energy infectious. Sherry turned, her smile widening as the girls gathered around her, their unrestrained excitement filling the air like a burst of sunlight. They chatted excitedly, their admiration spilling out in rapid, overlapping bursts, each of them eager to take a picture with their idol, their phones already held high. She obliged with a cheerful laugh, crouching slightly to accommodate the height difference, her slender figure fitting easily within the frame as the girls crowded around her, their laughter blending with hers.
All right, everyone say cheese.
The group huddled close, their phones snapping away as Sherry maintained her radiant smile, her poise never wavering despite the impromptu nature of the moment, her genuine warmth shining through. Her easy grace and natural charm left the group beaming as they thanked her profusely, their laughter echoing through the mall as she waved them off, her heart warmed by their admiration. Sherry eats with a relaxed but efficient pace, her thickening thighs pressing against the chair as the gentle swell of her belly begins to fill her lap. Her crop top clings to her growing curves, the outline of her belly becoming more defined as she shifts slightly to ease the pressure of her snug skirt. Sherry enjoys her meal immensely, her discreet bites betraying her appetite as her rounded stomach brushes against the edge of the table.
No thanks, my hips already have enough bounce as it is, I don't need more.
Sherry enjoys her meal immensely, her discreet bites betraying her appetite as her rounded stomach brushes against the edge of the table. The warm aroma of fried food and the chatter of customers fills the air as you step into W.C. Donald's, the tantalizing scent immediately pulling you in. It doesn't take long for your eyes to land on a familiar figure seated in a booth, her vibrant hair glowing under the fluorescent lights, her presence impossible to miss.
Sherry, is that you enjoying a cheat day?
She looks up at your voice, a faint blush creeping onto her cheeks as she waves you over, her smile both warm and slightly sheepish.
Oh hey, didn't expect to see you here of all places.
As you approach, the sight of her table becomes clearer. It's a veritable feast of indulgence with burgers stacked high, golden fries spilling from their cartons, and a large soda resting prominently. She's already mid-bite, the plush softness of her lips sinking into the burger as her cheeks puff slightly from the effort.
Looks like someone's treating themselves.
Sherry laughs softly, a mix of embarrassment and defiance glimmering in her eyes as she wipes her mouth with a napkin.
It's my cheat day, my new trainer has me on this brutal diet that's practically starvation, so I've got to make this one meal really count.
Her hands rest briefly on the table before picking up a burger again, her fingers pressing into the soft bun as she takes another bite. The subtle bounce of her chest as she leans forward, the soft curve of her belly pressing slightly against the table, paints a picture of indulgence.
Need anything else to round out the cheat day?
Sherry's eyes widen in surprise before a mischievous smile curves her lips, her voice taking on a playful edge.
You're spoiling me now, alright, maybe another burger.
You return with the food, her cheeks flushing slightly as she accepts it with a soft laugh, her fingers brushing yours briefly. As you sit with her, Sherry's initial shyness begins to melt away, her laughter coming easier as she takes increasingly larger bites of her food. The way her lips part slightly with each sip of soda, the slight jostle of her chest as she shifts in her seat, draws your attention.
It's weird, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but it just tastes so ridiculously good.
Her voice is soft, almost confessional, as she looks at you with a sheepish smile, her hand idly resting on the growing curve of her stomach.
You deserve a break every now and then. Life's too short to skip cheat days.
Sherry's cheeks flush a deeper shade of pink, her lips curling into a smile that feels both grateful and playful.
Thanks, it's nice to hear someone say that.
She seems to relax even more, her bites growing bolder as she takes your words to heart, the soft bounce of her body with each movement mesmerizing. After finishing most of her tray, Sherry leans back slightly, her hand resting on the soft swell of her stomach as she lets out a quiet, satisfied sigh. Her gaze flickers to the remaining food, her teeth catching her bottom lip as she seems to weigh her options.
I'm so full, But this is my last chance for anything this good until next week.
Her fingers curl around the edge of the tray as she takes a deep breath, picking up another fry and popping it into her mouth with renewed resolve. The way her belly shifts slightly as she leans forward, the soft jiggle of her thighs against the booth, adds an almost hypnotic quality to her movements. By the time she finishes everything, her tray is empty, and she leans back with a deep, contented groan, her eyes half-lidded with satisfaction.
That was incredible, definitely worth every calorie.
The soft blush on her cheeks and the glow in her expression speak volumes about her enjoyment.
Thanks for keeping me company, you made this even better.
Her hand brushes lightly against yours as she speaks, the moment lingering before the noise of the restaurant draws you back to reality.
So what do you think, too much or just enough? Because I have to admit, I love the way I jiggle now when I dance.
Sherry's once slender frame now carries the undeniable weight of her indulgence, her comically distended belly dwarfing even her growing hips and backside. The massive curve of her stomach pushes outward, her crop top riding up and leaving her taut skin fully exposed. Her belly's size forces her to adjust her movements, bending forward slightly to balance its weight. Her hands rest against its sides, fingers sinking lightly into the soft curve as she attempts to maintain her composure. Her see-through skirt now barely clings to her hips, her panties almost completely consumed by the swell of her full cheeks. Every jiggle and sway of her backside contrasts with the overwhelming presence of her stuffed belly, creating a visual feast for the audience. Though she initially tries to hide her swollen midsection, Sherry eventually gives in, arching her back and flaunting her figure with renewed confidence. Her flushed cheeks and heavy breaths only add to her allure, her indulgence becoming a central part of her magnetic performance. The crowd cheered loudly as Sherry stepped onto the red carpet, her figure glowing under the vivid, focused lights that accentuated her every curve and movement. She walked with an easy confidence, her stride still as graceful as ever, though there's now a subtle hint of softness to her steps, an understated change that seemed to enhance her allure. Her skirt hugged her hips snugly, the material taut against her slight curves, and she tugs at it occasionally with an absent gesture to keep it in place as she moved.
You were amazing tonight, heading home.
Thanks, yeah, but I could use a nap before I even get there.
Sherry approached her car, the sleek frame catching and reflecting the shimmering glow of the club's neon lights, the vibrant colors dancing across its polished surface. She unlocked the door, pausing briefly to smooth her skirt over her slightly fuller hips, her fingers brushing the fabric with a casual yet deliberate motion. Lowering herself into the seat, she shifted her thighs to fit comfortably within the bolstered edges, the leather creaking faintly as it accommodated her presence. The car gave a soft creak as her weight settled, the suspension dipping gently, the shift barely perceptible but undeniably present.
I swear these cars are made for people with no curves.
She flashed a quick smile, the amusement in her expression undercutting the faint frustration in her tone, before pulling the door closed with a soft click. Her body shifted slightly as the door latched, her hips pressing more snugly into the sides of the seat, the space seeming just a little narrower than it used to be. With a wave, she drove off, the car bouncing slightly over the uneven street, the gentle dips highlighting the subtle weight it now carried. Your hands knead into her fuller stomach, the softness shifting under your palms. She groans softly.
Don't stop.
Back for another try.
Absolutely. I wasn't ready last time, but today I've got a plan.
Sherry slides into the booth with a confident little bounce, her light crop top now riding just a bit higher than before. A faint curve has begun to blossom at her hips, and the outline of a softening belly peaks when she stretches. She unwraps her first burger with delicate fingers, her expression focused and slightly mischievous. Each bite is smaller this time, more methodical. She chews with intent, savoring the flavor, her lips parting slightly to exhale between mouthfuls. Her eyes flutter shut on occasion as the greasy richness coats her tongue. The first burger is gone in a flash, then the fries. She pops them between her lips one by one, alternating with gulps of soda. The carbonation makes her squirm slightly, a hand brushing down her stomach as if trying to ease the growing pressure there. When the second burger arrives, her posture slumps a little. Her legs part just a bit more under the table, no longer as eager, but not giving up either. She slows down, her pace languid, Her fingers rest on her lower belly, now pressing firmly against the waistband of her sheer skirt, which bunches around her softening hips. A faint flush colors her cheeks.
Okay, this is harder than it looks, but it tastes so good.
She picks at the fries again, then finishes her soda with a heavy gulp. A soft groan escapes her lips as she leans back, one hand under her shirt, stroking the gentle swell of her full stomach.
I think that's all for me today.
Empty wrappers and half-greasy cartons scatter the table. Her legs shift slightly apart as she tries to find relief from the mounting pressure below her navel. Yet the dreamy smile on her face says it all. This isn't a defeat. It's a beginning.
Sherry, what's with the stealth mode?
Sherry freezes mid-bite, a half-eaten Danish clutched in one hand. Her other hand hovers over the pastry tray, fingers curling around a sugary eclair. The powdered sugar from the Danish dusted her lips and chin, giving her an almost innocent appearance despite her mischief.
Stealth me, no way, just sampling the goods, quality control, you know.
She stuffs the rest of the Danish into her mouth, her cheeks bulging as she chewed quickly. Her movements were hurried, but there's an underlying enjoyment in the way she lingered over each bite. Her fingers, now sticky with icing, deftly unwrapped a muffin, her gaze darting around nervously.
You could have asked for a plate.
Too slow, this is faster.
Her voice is muffled, crumbs scattering onto the counter as she spoke. She devoured the muffin with gusto, her body leaning forward slightly as her enthusiasm overridden her composure. The subtle swell of her belly pressed against the waistband of her skirt as she polished off another pastry. With a cheeky grin, she tossed the empty wrapper into the trash, her movements quick and efficient. But as she turned to leave, her fingers sneaked back to grab one last eclair, her playful energy leaving you both amused and exasperated. The mall was alive with activity, the lively chatter and bright lights creating an inviting atmosphere as Sherry strolled leisurely through the atrium, her presence commanding attention effortlessly. Her slightly fuller figure lent her a new softness, her hips swaying gently with each step, drawing subtle glances and quiet murmurs of appreciation from those she passed, her skirt hugging her curves. A group of teenage girls spotted her, their eyes lighting up in recognition before they rushed toward her, their excited energy impossible to miss as they called her name. Sherry greeted them warmly, her smile lighting up her face as they crowded around her, their admiration pouring out in a flurry of excited words that overlapped in their eagerness. Phones emerged quickly, the girls urging Sherry to pose with them, their eagerness to capture the moment palpable as they fumbled to get into position. She laughed softly, adjusting her stance as they pressed close, her skirt shifting slightly over her curves as she leaned in to fit comfortably within the frame, the light catching her warm expression.
Let's make it a good one.
The girls huddled closer, the tight grouping pushing lightly against Sherry's softer frame, her plush hips brushing against theirs as the photo was taken, her warmth drawing them even closer. Her easy charm and genuine delight left the group giggling and giddy as they thanked her repeatedly, their joy spilling over as they bounced off to share their cherished photos, their happiness contagious. Sherry walks in with a sway that's just a little more exaggerated than usual. Her skirt clings slightly tighter to her thighs, and when she steps onto the scale, her hips seem to shift with a bit more bounce. She glances at the number, lips parting slightly. Wait, kg.
Oh, just a little snack weight, probably.
Her legs are fuller now, thighs pressing faintly together where they didn't before. Her tights have started to pull at the seams, especially around her softening hips. From behind, her rear rounds out noticeably more, the skirt stretched just a bit higher over the extra curve.
It's not too much, right? You still like it.
Sherry stands in the mirrored dance studio, the polished floor reflecting the light from above. Her pastel tank top clings to her torso, and her black skirt now hugs her hips more tightly than before. Her figure has softened slightly, her once lean frame filling out with subtle curves that weren't there a few weeks ago. She adjusts her tank top, tugging it down before starting the music. The rhythm fills the room, and she steps into her routine with her usual energy. Her feet glide across the floor, but there's a newfound weight to her movements. Her hips sway more dramatically, the skirt framing how they've widened into a fuller, more enticing shape. Each spin sends a soft jiggle through her rear, the bounce noticeable in the mirror as her cheeks shift with delayed, mesmerizing motion. Her spins are still graceful, but each landing causes a ripple to travel through her thighs and rear. The faint sound of her thighs brushing together accompanies her movements, and her reflection catches her eye, making her lips curve into a sheepish smile.
Okay, maybe I've been indulging a little too much lately, but I can work with this.
She continues, adding an extra flair to her routine to match her fuller figure. Each turn causes her hips to roll with more momentum, her backside quaking with every twist. Her landings are heavier, the faint thud of her steps carrying more impact, but her natural charisma and energy shine through. As the routine ends, she strikes her final pose, holding it for a moment longer to catch her breath. Beads of sweat trickle down her face as she reaches for her towel, her chest rising and falling under the snug fabric of her tank top.
Not bad, I've still got it.
She wipes her brow and glances at her reflection, her softening figure highlighted by the snug fit of her workout clothes. Her grin widens as she throws the towel over her shoulder and heads for a water break. Her movements are slower now, her hand idly brushing crumbs off her crop top as she leans back, her distended stomach visibly dominating her frame.
I want to, but if I eat more, I'll be shimmying more from being stuffed than from dancing.
Her movements are slower now, her hand idly brushing crumbs off her crop top as she leans back, her distended stomach visibly dominating her frame. You're really enjoying this, aren't you? She teases, pressing into your hands, her stomach molding gently beneath your palms.
I tried sitting on my usual spot on the couch, but it creaked. I think it's trying to tell me something. Guess my new curves are making an impact both on stage and off.
A new, more noticeable curve forms at Sherry's midsection as her belly begins to push forward, rounding out in stark contrast to her otherwise slim figure. She shifts her posture slightly, arching her back to accommodate the unfamiliar weight. Her crop top stretches taut across her stomach, highlighting its growing size. The outline of her belly is unmistakable as it gently presses against the fabric, a testament to her recent indulgence. Despite her apparent lack of experience with eating so much, Sherry's face betrays her pleasure. Her lips curl into a sultry smile, her hands occasionally brushing against her belly as if savoring its fullness. A see-through skirt sways with each step, barely covering the top of her growing thighs and the cheeks of her fuller backside. Her enjoyment of the meal has left her movements slower, her hips and stomach swaying with every turn, creating an intoxicating visual for her audience.
These curves don't lie, babe. Every bite, every treat, every indulgence. And now my performances have way more sway.
Sherry's immense backside has now fully swallowed her pink panties, leaving only a teasing hint of fabric visible between her rounded cheeks. Her see-through skirt struggles to stay in place, riding higher on her waist to accommodate the twin globes of her ass that have become the undeniable focus of her figure. Her once pronounced thigh gap has all but vanished, replaced by soft, jiggling flesh that brushes together with each step. The sheer size and bounce of her ass with every movement command attention, drawing eyes with its hypnotic sway under the club's lights. The rest of her slender body struggles to keep pace with the overwhelming growth of her hips and backside. Her crop top still clings to her flat upper body, emphasizing the stark disparity between her lithe frame and the massive curves below. Every step Sherry takes sends a ripple through her plush backside, the exaggerated motion making her movements almost mesmerizing. Her confidence is undeniable as she struts, fully aware of how much attention her growing figure is attracting.
Sherry again.
This time, Sherry is crouched slightly behind the counter, a tray of pastries spread out in front of her. She's nibbling on a chocolate croissant, her cheeks dusted with cocoa powder and her lips glistening from the buttery glaze.
I can explain.
Sherry again.
This time, Sherry is crouched slightly behind the counter, a tray of pastries spread out in front of her. She's nibbling on a chocolate croissant, her cheeks dusted with cocoa powder and her lips glistening from the buttery glaze. Her fingers are sticky with icing as she reached for a cinnamon roll, her movements quick but deliberate.
I can explain.
She took a huge bite of the cinnamon roll, her voice muffled as she spoke through a mouthful of pastry.
Okay, maybe not, but they're just sitting here. Someone has to enjoy them, right?
Her hand hovered over a lemon tart, hesitation flickering across her face as her gaze locked onto you.
You're going to get caught.
Not if you keep watch for me.
He flashed a cheeky grin before taking a bite of the tart, the tangy filling causing her to let out a small, involuntary hum of delight. Her pace slowed as she ate, each bite more indulgent than the last. Her belly began to press against the fabric of her skirt, the snug waistband digging slightly into her softening middle. As crumbs littered her lap, she leaned back slightly, her cheeks flushed from both exertion and satisfaction. Sherry's appetite is unabated as she eats, her thick thighs spreading broadly in her seat and her stuffed belly pressing heavily into her lap, her crop top riding higher with every bite. The bright lights of the mall's atrium shine down on a bustling set, where a promotional shoot for a cookie brand is underway, the air thick with the sugary aroma of freshly baked cookies. The faint chatter of onlookers mixes with the sharp calls of the director, creating an electric yet chaotic atmosphere. At the center of it all is Sherry, her radiant smile illuminating the set as she takes direction from the crew. Her snug outfit clings to her growing curves, emphasizing the fullness of her backside and the slight swell of her midsection. Despite her cheerful demeanor, a subtle tension flickers in her posture, her hands gripping the cookie box with a touch of hesitance.
All right, let's make this one perfect.
Her voice is light and professional, but there's a flicker of strain in her eyes as she prepares for yet another take. The camera rolls, and Sherry flashes a dazzling smile, holding the box aloft as she begins her lines with practiced enthusiasm. She takes a deliberate bite from a cookie, her lips parting just enough to reveal a glimpse of the rich filling before her teeth sink in. The camera captures her bright expression, but the plate of cookies beside her tells a different story, nearly emptied by repeated takes. Each bite pushes her closer to fullness, her rounded belly pressing against the tight waistband of her skirt as her motions grow slower and more deliberate. Her radiant smile begins to falter, a faint blush spreading across her cheeks as she adjusts her stance, trying to hide the discomfort brewing beneath her polished exterior.
Sorry, one more time, I promise.
Her words come out cheerful, but her tone is edged with desperation as she leans slightly against the counter, her fingers pressing briefly into her side. Each retake brings a new cookie and another mouthful of milk, her belly straining visibly against the fabric, the swell of her hips becoming even more pronounced as she shifts her weight.
You're doing amazing, Sherry. Just one more take, you've got this.
Her gaze meets yours briefly, the blush on her cheeks deepening as she nods with a grateful smile.
Thanks, it helps knowing you're cheering me on.
The next take begins, and Sherry's dazzling smile returns, her voice steady as she delivers her lines with practiced precision. The camera captures her perfectly composed expression, but every movement below the frame tells a different story. Her belly presses outward, the fabric of her skirt visibly taut as she shifts uncomfortably, her growing fullness an undeniable presence. She takes another cookie, her bites slow and deliberate as she tries to maintain her professional facade, even as her body struggles to accommodate the sheer volume she's consumed. Her backside sways subtly as she adjusts her stance, the curves of her hips exaggerated by the strain of her snug outfit. The final take requires her to down the last of the milk, the bottle's contents disappearing in a series of audible gulps that leave her chest heaving slightly. The director claps, signaling the end of the shoot, and Sherry lets out a breathless laugh, her cheeks flushed as she leans heavily against the counter. Her hands cradle her swollen belly, the sheer size and fullness visible even beneath her fitted clothing as she takes a moment to compose herself.
Did we get it? Please tell me we got it.
The crew cheers and Sherry's smile returns, though it's tinged with relief as she straightens slowly, her posture careful. As a reward, the brand presents her with a crate of cookies, the stack towering over the counter as Sherry's eyes widen slightly in surprise.
A whole crate? Well, I guess I know what'll be tempting me this week.
You were incredible out there, truly professional.
Sherry's face lights up, her cheeks flushing as she brushes a strand of hair behind her ear, her posture relaxing slightly.
You're too sweet, but thank you. That really means a lot.
She hands you a box from the crate, her smile warm and inviting as she gestures to the rest of the stack.
Here, take one, but the rest, well, they're coming home with me.
You watch as she balances the crate, her hips swaying slightly with each step, the exaggerated curves of her figure drawing lingering glances from the remaining crew. The sight of her backside shifting with each step, framed by her snug skirt, lingers in your mind as she waves goodbye, leaving you with the sweet scent of cookies and the vivid memory of her performance.
You ever feel your own hips bounce when you walk? It's intoxicating. I might be getting heavy, but trust me, I wear it well, Tilda. My fans love it.
Sherry's swollen belly now rivals the size of her enormous backside, the two curves creating an almost comical contrast to her otherwise slender frame. Her stomach, round and flushed from the sheer amount of food she's consumed, dominates her silhouette, pushing out against her arms as she cradles its weight. Sweat glistens on her skin, her body laboring under the strain of both supporting her massive figure and digesting the feast she's indulged in. Her breaths come shallow and heavy, each exhale punctuated by a soft moan as she shifts her stance to maintain balance. A growing addiction to the sensation of fullness is written across her face. Her lips part in a sultry sigh as her hands knead the taut surface of her belly, her fingers sinking slightly into the soft curve before brushing against the waistband of her skirt, now stretched precariously thin. Sherry's movements are slow and deliberate, her hips swaying with each step as her enormous backside bounces and jiggles in time. The heat of the club only amplifies the scene, her flushed cheeks and heaving chest creating an intoxicating display of indulgence and confidence as she embraces her growing size. Her belly is undeniably plush now, pressing outward in a soft, wide curve. Your hands move in slow circles, enjoying the warmth beneath your touch. Your palms knead deep into her soft stomach, feeling every shift and wobble beneath your hands. She gasps, her voice sultry.
Ooh, yes.
The lively ambience of the mall was momentarily interrupted by a burst of excited screams as a group of teenage girls spotted Sherry, her radiant presence impossible to miss amidst the bustling crowd. Her fuller figure stood out amidst the activity, her curvier silhouette exuding a magnetic presence as she turned toward the sound, her radiant smile spreading across her face, lighting up the space around her. The girls rushed toward her, their phones already out, their enthusiasm bubbling over as they surrounded her, practically bouncing with excitement and struggling to contain their energy. Sherry laughed warmly, greeting them with a wave before obliging their eager requests for photos, her voice soft and inviting as she engaged them effortlessly. She adjusted her stance, her plush hips shifting as she leaned in to accommodate the growing number of fans squeezing into the frame, her movements natural and composed despite the tight grouping. The girls jostled lightly for position, their movements pressing softly against Sherry's figure, the plush curves of her hips and thighs molding slightly against the group as they crowded closer.
All right, everyone smile.
Her voice is light and cheerful as she posed, the high angle of one phone capturing her curvier form and the adoration of her fans in a single frame, her laughter blending with theirs. The gentle press of the girls against her was met with her characteristic grace, her laughter ringing out as she moved slightly to make space, her warmth and ease leaving them overjoyed and glowing from the encounter. Sherry enters with her hands on her hips, her skirt riding up slightly in the back from the pronounced curve of her butt. Every step carries a bounce, her full thighs swaying softly with motion. She plants her feet on the scale and exhales slowly. Wait, kg.
That's a jump, but maybe I like it.
Her thighs have grown thick and soft, brushing firmly together now. Her rear has bloomed into a full, pillowy mass that jiggles slightly when she shifts her stance. Her tights dig into the softness at her hips, creating distinct lines under her stretched skirt.
It's not idle slim anymore, but it feels so good.
Giving it another shot.
Third time's the charm, right?
This time, Sherry slides into the booth with a gentle plop, her growing thighs spreading a bit more than before, the hem of her sheer skirt now tugged tighter over curvier hips. She starts with fries, thinking the lighter texture might make things easier, but even they begin to feel heavy as she shovels them in. She sips at her soda between mouthfuls, her cheeks puffed out adorably as she chews. Her belly now presses subtly against the edge of the table, still mostly hidden under her loose crop top, but undeniably present. When she unwraps her first burger, her fingers linger a second longer on the greasy paper. She raises it to her lips slowly, biting into it like she's savoring something forbidden. By the second burger, her pace slows to a crawl. She leans back with a low groan, her fingers slipping beneath her top to gently stroke the soft bulge beneath. Her belly domes outward gently now, the waistband of her skirt biting lightly into her skin. She shifts in her seat, her thighs squishing together with a quiet squeak of fabric.
Why does it feel like this food expands in my stomach?
The third burger is barely touched before she sets it down. Her cheeks are flushed, her breath shallow, her legs spread slightly to accommodate the slow swell of her stuffed tummy. She leans back fully, her rounder face glowing with indulgence.
I'm done for real this time.
The booth creaks slightly as she settles into it, the wrapper's a disheveled mess. Her eyes close briefly, her hand resting lazily over her taut belly, the taste of grease and salt still lingering on her tongue. She moans softly, pressing her thighs together as she leans into your hands.
You're getting me all worked up.
Your palms knee deep into her soft stomach, feeling every shift and wobble beneath your hands. She gasps, her voice sultry.
Ooh, yes.
Mirror Dance Studio feels warm as Sherry steps to the center, her skirt stretched tightly over her now wider hips and fuller thighs. Her pastel tank top clings to her torso, outlining her slightly softer midsection, but it's her backside that steals the focus. Her rounded cheeks push against the fabric, every movement emphasizing their fullness. She pauses to adjust her waistband, her fingers hooking under it to shift it more comfortably over her hips before starting the music. Her reflection catches her eye, her curves now undeniable, but she smiles with determination. As the beat kicks in, Sherry begins her routine, but her movements are slower than before. Her fuller thighs brush together with each step, the soft slapping sound of her legs audible in the quiet moments between beats. Her backside quivers with each shift, the rounded cheeks bouncing with delayed reaction to her every step. She twirls and her landing sends a pronounced ripple through her rear. The skirt lifts slightly, revealing the jiggle as her cheeks clap together softly, the sound faint but undeniable. Her chest heaves as she pushes herself through the routine, her energy waning quicker than it used to, but the allure of her fuller movements keeps her smiling. Halfway through, she pauses, placing her hands on her knees as she catches her breath. Her cheeks are flushed, both from exertion and a hint of embarrassment. She glanced at her reflection, her grin turning sheepish.
Okay, maybe I overdid it with the snacks, but I'm still nailing this routine.
With a determined huff, she restarts the music and finishes the choreography, her moves slightly heavier but no less charismatic. The final pose has her on one knee, her backside settling heavily with a soft clap as she breathes deeply, beads of sweat tracing lines down her flushed face. Grabbing her towel, she wipes her brow and gives her reflection a once-over. Her wider hips and softer rear are impossible to miss, but so is the pride in her eyes.
I've got some work to do, but I'm still looking good.
The crowd erupted in cheers as Sherry stepped onto the red carpet, their applause reverberating through the night, a perfect backdrop to her captivating presence. Her hips swayed with each step, the snug fit of her outfit highlighting her growing curves, the smooth fabric stretched slightly over her thighs, clinging to her form in a way that drew every eye. The lights caught the sheen of her skirt, the reflective surface shimmering with every movement, emphasizing the fullness in her stride and the gentle rhythm of her steps.
Another great show, Sherry. Need help with anything?
Oh, you're sweet. Just gotta get home and crash.
She approached her car, the tight confines of the sleek sports car seeming smaller by comparison, its low profile accentuating the contrast as she stood beside it. With a soft sigh, she unlocked the door and turned to sit sideways, her movements slower, her body carefully maneuvering into the narrow space. Her thighs pressed against the seat's edges as she eased herself in, the once ample room now feeling snug, the leather creaking softly as it molded around her curves. The suspension dipped visibly as she settled, a faint creak escaping from the springs, the slight dip in the car's frame undeniable in the stillness of the moment. She pulled the door closed with a bit more effort, her hips shifting to accommodate the tight space, her skirt riding up slightly as she adjusted her position with a faint sigh. Her belly brushed the bottom of the steering wheel as she adjusted her posture, her brows furrowing slightly in frustration before smoothing into a resigned smile.
Okay, note to self, maybe a roomier car next time.
Her laugh carried a mix of amusement and mild frustration, her fingers brushing over her skirt as she waved and drove off. The car dipped with each small bump on the road, the gentle motion a quiet acknowledgement of its precious cargo. Her rounded midsection is impossible to miss, the fullness of her belly outlined against the fabric of her skirt, which clings tightly to her softened curves. Across from you feel a small. Sherry's belly swells heavily, the tight curve dominating her figure as she pauses between bites to rub the taut surface, her breath slow and deliberate.
I can see my belly pressing into my waistband. I think I've hit my limit. I was trying on new jeans and, nope, my hips have officially declared war on denim. It's all stretch pants from here on out. Lucky for me, my stage costumes are getting custom fit now, Tilda.
Sherry's ass has grown into an impossible spectacle, its sheer size dominating her figure. Her panties, long past their ability to fit, have been completely swallowed by her immense cheeks. Vanishing between the deep, plush divide, the upper portion of her ass spills outward, pushing up against the thin waistband, creating rolls of supple flesh that refuse to be contained. With her see-through skirt abandoned, her backside is now on full display, jiggling with every exaggerated sway of her hips. The motion is hypnotic, the excess flesh rippling in waves as she moves, each step punctuated by the audible clap of her thighs and the jiggle of her rear. The friction between her thickened thighs is inescapable, her gait slightly adjusted to accommodate the chafing mass that now fills any available space. Despite the immense changes to her body, Sherry's confidence has only grown. The smug smirk on her lips suggests she knows exactly the kind of attention she's drawing, reveling in the way eyes are glued to the exaggerated curves of her figure. Her performance has taken on a new kind of power, no longer just a dancer, she is a spectacle of indulgence. Her sheer size making every motion more intoxicating. Her hands glide down the vast expanse of her hips, drawing attention to just how much she has grown, every ounce of excess flesh only adding to her allure. Sherry waddles in slowly, her thighs rubbing audibly beneath her stretched tights. Her once flowy skirt now clings like a second skin over her dramatically widened backside. She steps up on the scale with a breathy sigh, placing a hand on her thickened hip. Wait, kg.
Wow, I'm starting to get a little bottom heavy, huh?
Her thighs are thick columns now, plush and doughy. Her ass is massive, high, round and jiggly with the slightest movement. Her skirt barely covers it, the fabric struggling to stretch fully over her cheeks. Even standing still, her hips shift gently under their own weight, creating an alluring, lazy sway.
I should probably be embarrassed, but I kind of love how soft I'm getting.
She shifts, biting her lip as you work deeper.
I think I'm starting to love this.
Sherry steps into the mirrored dance studio, her black skirt visibly straining around her thickened thighs and pronounced hips. Her pastel tank top is stretched tightly over her modestly soft belly, but the real challenge is her backside, which now dominates her figure with its lush, heavy curves. Each step causes her cheeks to shift and bounce, the skirt barely managing to stay in place. She adjusts her waistband with a huff, the elastic digging into her softer midsection, before starting the music. Her reflection greets her with a figure that's grown undeniably heavy in her lower half, but her grin remains bright. Music starts and Sherry moves into her routine, but the effort is evident in her every step. Her thighs press together firmly as she glides across the floor, the sound of their slap audible with each motion. Each turn sends her cheeks bouncing heavily, the delayed clap of her backside creating a rhythm all its own. Her breathing becomes labored as she attempts a leap, her landing heavier than ever. The impact sends a ripple through her rear that claps audibly, the echo filling the studio. She winces slightly but recovers with a defiant smile, brushing a strand of damp hair from her flushed face.
Phew, I might not be as light on my feet, but I've still got the moves.
Routine continues, though it's clear she's working harder to maintain her pace. Sweat darkens the fabric of her tank top, clinging to her generous curves as she powers through the choreography. By the time she strikes her final pose, her chest heaves with exertion, and her arms drop limply to her sides. Grabbing her towel, she dabs at her sweat-soaked face, her reflection showing a flushed, curvier version of herself. She can't help but laugh softly, shaking her head.
Guess I'm giving the audience more to look at these days.
Despite her exhaustion, her grin remains as she adjusts her waistband one last time and heads for a well-earned water break. The red carpet buzzed with excitement as Sherry stepped out, the crowd's cheers rising in volume, their energy vibrant as they celebrated her presence. Her fuller figure sways noticeably with each step, her curves catching the light in a way that drew admiring looks from all sides, the crowd captivated by her confidence and poise. Her skirt clings tightly to her rounded hips, the gentle jiggle of her backside commanding attention, the sway of her walk emphasizing her undeniable allure.
Fantastic performance, Sherry. Are you all right?
Thanks, yeah, just need to get home and relax.
Reaching her car, she paused to adjust her skirt, which has ridden up slightly over her softened thighs, the taut fabric a testament to her recent indulgences. She opened the door and carefully lowered herself in, her thighs pressing firmly against the seat edges, the snug fit eliciting a faint sigh as she shifted her position. The car groaned audibly as the suspension dipped under her weight, the springs settling lower than before, the quiet sound stark against the surrounding applause. Her belly brushed against the steering wheel, the soft curve pressing gently as she adjusted her position with a small huff, her expression a mix of annoyance and resignation. Her plush backside lifted her higher in the seat, her head sitting noticeably closer to the roof, the leather creaking softly beneath her as she settled in. She pulled the door closed with effort, her body compressing slightly with each tug, the final latch echoing faintly in the quiet surrounding the vehicle.
This car was definitely not designed for all this.
Her voice carried a mix of humor and exasperation as she started the engine, the low rumble filling the air. With a sheepish wave, she drove off, the car's frame visibly shifting as it rolled into the night, the slight sway of the vehicle marking her departure. Her skirt is gone, having failed to survive the battle between her thick thighs and her bloated stomach, which wobbles heavily as she shifts uncomfortably in her chair. Sherry walked leisurely through the mall, her plush curves swaying visibly with each step, the snug fit of her skirt drawing admiring glances and quiet murmurs from those around her, her presence magnetic. The gentle jiggle of her movements is mesmerizing, her confidence radiating as she moved gracefully, commanding attention even amidst the busy atrium, her warmth shining through every gesture. A group of girls spotted her from across the mall, their excited squeals drawing the attention of others as they rushed to her side, their excitement spilling over as they reached her. Sherry beamed at the group, her smile radiating warmth as they chatted eagerly, their phones raised high in anticipation of a selfie with their idol, their admiration palpable. As they pressed closer, the crowding grew more intimate, the girls pushing gently against her plush hips and thighs as they jostled for position, their voices overlapping with excitement. Her skirt strained slightly as she shifted to make space, her laughter ringing out as she leaned in, her soft curves now a prominent feature in the photos, her natural charm captivating everyone.
Let's make this one unforgettable.
Her voice carried a playful lilt as she struck a pose, her generous figure filling the frame effortlessly, the tight grouping of fans making the moment all the more intimate and memorable. The girls giggled as they thanked her profusely, their phones clutched tightly as they scattered, leaving Sherry with a glowing smile and a touch of color on her cheeks, her heart warmed by their joy.
You're really going for it today.
I'm not stopping until I make real progress.
Sherry squeezes into the booth with effort this time, her widened hips brushing both sides. Her thighs press outward, thick and plush, as she tries to adjust her position. The skirt has little hope of concealing the softness now overflowing beneath the table. She alternates between fries and burgers in rapid rhythm, the sounds of wrappers crinkling and soda fizzing filling the space around her. Each bite makes her round face light up, still enjoying herself even as her gut begins to protest. By the time she finishes her second drink, her belly presses firmly against the table edge. She shifts with a heavy sigh, her hands trailing along the curve of her stomach, now visibly pushing out against her stretched crop top.
I've got this, just a little more.
Her fingers tremble slightly as she unwraps the fourth burger. Her cheeks are rosy, sweat glistening at her temples as she pushes another bite into her overfilled mouth. The lower half of her belly spills softly onto her thighs now, pressing into them with every motion. Her seat groans beneath her weight. Eventually, she sets the burger down mid-bite. Her arms flop to her sides, chest rising and falling as she tries to catch her breath.
So close, but I think I'll save the victory for another day.
The table is covered in wrappers, fries, and empty cups. Her belly shifts with each slow breath, a tight mound rising from her lap. Despite the exhaustion, there's a dreamy, almost aroused satisfaction in her heavy-lidded gaze.
Walking upstairs, impossible without feeling everything bounce. Every step, every movement. My performances have never been this hypnotic, Tilda.
Sherry's belly is at its absolute limit, a massive, overstuffed dome that sags onto her thighs, pressing heavily into the plush softness of her lap. The tightness of her gut is visible in every strained breath, her skin flushed with a deep, reddish hue from the sheer amount of food packed inside her. She shifts slightly, and the weight of her belly forces her to adjust, her hands resting on its taut surface, fingers pressing in as if testing just how much room she has left. The way her midsection bulges outward is almost unreal, the sheer volume of it making even small movements a laborious effort. Even from behind, the curve of her gut can be seen, stretching out to the sides, as if demanding attention from every possible angle. Her chest rises and falls with each heavy breath, her face caught between exhaustion and satisfaction. There's a heat to her expression, her eyes half-lidded, lips slightly parted as if caught in some dazed trance from the sensation of being this full. The weight of her belly, the tightness, the overwhelming pressure, it all seems to be something she relishes. Her fingers trail absent-mindedly across her stomach, kneading into the packed mass with slow, indulgent motions. Every slight shift sends a ripple through her overstuffed body, her thighs pressing together under the sheer weight of her indulgence. Even as she sits entirely weighed down by her gluttony, there's an undeniable pleasure in the way she lingers in the moment, savoring every inch of her swollen, impossible fullness. She whimpers, shifting slightly, her eyes half-lidded.
Icha, I don't think I can take much more.
Sherry, how many have you had?
Sherry is perched on a stool, a small tower of crumpled wrappers and empty napkins growing beside her. Her fingers are dusted with powdered sugar as she grabbed another eclair, her movements slower now. Her belly pressed noticeably against the waistband of her skirt, the fabric straining to contain her indulgence.
No idea who's counting.
She bit into the eclair, the rich chocolate ganache coating her lips as she chewed methodically. The once playful energy in her movements had given way to a languid rhythm, her body swaying slightly as she adjusted her position on the stool.
You're going to regret this.
Future Sherry's problem.
Her voice carried a hint of defiance, but the soft groan that escaped her lips as she shifted betrayed her growing discomfort. Her belly rounded out further, pressing against the counter as she leaned forward to sneak a powdered donut into her bag. Despite her visible fullness, she took another bite, her cheeks flushing as she savored the treat. Her movements slowed further, but her mischievous grin remained firmly in place. Sherry eats with deliberate bites, her enormous belly spilling over her lap and pressing firmly into her thighs, her crop top pushed entirely out of the way. Enters through the blinds of the dorm's common room, soft rays illuminating the remnants of last night's chaos. Empty cans, crumpled snack bags, and a few scattered bottles tell the story of a long and indulgent evening. You find Mia lounging on the couch, her hair tousled and her makeup slightly smudged. A half-eaten pastry is in one hand, and a bowl of chips rests precariously on her lap. Your hands brush against wafts through the dorm hallway, rich and indulgent, the kind that makes your stomach rumble and your mind wander. As you approach Sherry's door, the faint sound of rustling packaging and soft, satisfied sighs becomes audible, pulling you closer. The door is slightly ajar, swinging open with a light push to reveal a scene of pure decadence. Sherry lounges on her bed, surrounded by a mountain of cookie boxes, their colorful designs adding a playful chaos to the otherwise tidy room. She's reclined comfortably, one leg tucked under her, the other dangling lazily off the side, her body framed by the soft glow of her bedside lamp.
Oh hey, come in.
Her voice is cheerful and inviting, though there's a faint blush on her cheeks, whether from embarrassment or the heat of indulgence, it's hard to say. Her outfit, a snug pair of leggings and an oversized crop top, does little to hide the changes in her figure. Her belly, soft and full, presses noticeably against the waistband of her leggings, the fabric clinging tightly to her rounded midsection. Her hips and thighs have taken on a plushness that seems to spill over the edges of the bed, her massive ass stretching the seams of her leggings to their limit.
Wow, Sherry, you've got quite the setup here.
Sherry laughs softly, reaching for another cookie from the open box in her lap, her fingers brushing crumbs from her lips as she takes a deliberate bite.
The commercial was such a hit that they want to sign me for a long-term contract.
But there's a catch. She gestures toward her midsection with a playful grin, her hand briefly brushing the curve of her belly before settling back onto the cookie box.
They want me to be the face of Indulgence, and that means hitting 150 kilos.
She doesn't seem the least bit upset by this requirement. In fact, there's a glimmer of excitement in her eyes as she leans forward slightly, her massive hips shifting to accommodate the movement. Her leggings strain visibly, the fabric hugging her curves so tightly it almost looks painted on, especially around her expansive backside.
Let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
Sherry's eyes light up and she chuckles softly, patting the space beside her on the bed.
You might regret saying that. I've got a lot of cookies to get through.
She gestures toward the mound of boxes with a playful grin, her massive hips shifting slightly as she adjusts her position. Sherry pats the bed beside her, inviting you to sit, and as you do, the mattress dips significantly under her weight. She shifts slightly, her wide hips pressing against you as she leans over to grab another cookie, the motion causing her massive backside to jiggle slightly. You pick up a box of cookies and offer her one, the blush on her cheeks deepening as she accepts with a playful smile.
You're really gonna help me with this, huh?
You grin, holding another cookie out to her as she leans in, her lips brushing against your fingers as she takes it. As she eats, her hand occasionally brushes against yours, her body pressing more firmly against you as she shifts to get comfortable. Her massive hips and thighs seem to envelop the space around her, the warmth and softness of her body impossible to ignore. At one point, she shifts to straddle you playfully, her weight pressing down as she leans in to grab another cookie from the box in your hands.
Hope I'm not crushing you.
Her tone is teasing, but the heat in her gaze betrays something deeper as she wiggles slightly, her massive backside settling more comfortably onto your lap. The sensation is overwhelming, the warmth, the softness, the sheer weight of her presence as she snacks lazily, her belly pressing gently against your chest. Her movement slow as her fullness grows, her breathing slightly heavier as she rests her hands on your shoulders for balance.
You're dangerous, you know that, feeding me like this, making me feel this good.
Her voice is soft and low, her gaze locked on yours as she leans in, her lips brushing against your ear.
Maybe I should keep you around more often.
The heat between you is palpable, her body pressing into yours as she leans in further, her breath warm against your neck. Eventually, Sherry sighs contentedly, her hands sliding from your shoulders to rest gently on her swollen belly. She shifts off your lap slowly, the bed creaking under her weight as she reclines back, her eyes half-lidded with satisfaction.
Alright, I think I'm officially stuffed.
Her words come out as a soft murmur, her hand idly tracing slow circles over her belly as she gazes at you with a mix of amusement and affection.
Thanks for helping me out tonight.
Her tone is playful, but there's a warmth to it that lingers as she shifts to lie down, patting the space beside her.
Stay a little longer.
The invitation is impossible to refuse. You settle in beside her, the weight of her body radiating warmth as the two of you relax in the glow of her lamp. The moment stretches on, quiet and intimate, the sound of her breathing slowing as she drifts into a peaceful, food-induced nap. Her breath hitches with every bite, the sheer weight of her swollen midsection anchoring her in place, crumbs falling across her lap and thighs as she struggles to shift comfortably. Your hands knead over her stuffed stomach, drawing out desperate, breathy sighs.
Ooh, baby, please more.
buzzing atmosphere of the studio greets you as you and Sherry step inside, the energy palpable. Sherry, resplendent in her oversized casual wear, surveys the room with a mix of curiosity and excitement. Her presence dominates the space, her wide hips and massive backside swaying slightly with each step as she approaches the wardrobe area.
Alright, let's see what we've got.
Her tone is cheerful, but her eyes light up with genuine enthusiasm as she spots the iconic Japanese school uniform laid out on a nearby rack. The uniform is clearly designed for cosplay, with exaggerated details, but even its custom sizing pales in comparison to Sherry's expansive curves.
This is going to be fun, and maybe a little challenging.
She chuckles, her belly giving a soft jiggle beneath her shirt as she reaches for the uniform. The top looks like it might just barely contain her chest and belly, but the skirt, it's laughably small against the scale of her thick thighs and massive ass.
Need a hand with that.
Sherry flashes you a grin, holding up the top as she slips her arms into the sleeves. The fabric stretches audibly as she pulls it over her shoulders, her soft belly pressing firmly against the buttons as she works to fasten them.
Well, it's on, kind of.
She laughs softly, adjusting the hem as the last button fights valiantly to hold her belly in place. The fabric clings tightly to her curves, the slightest movement causing the buttons to strain. Next comes the skirt, and this is where things take a turn. You kneel to help her step into it, but the moment you try to pull it up, it's clear it's a losing battle. Her thighs, soft and impossibly thick, refuse to be contained by the waistband, and her massive ass looms above you, its sheer size making the task feel insurmountable.
I don't think this is going to work from the bottom.
Let's try from the top. Maybe gravity will help us out.
She lifts her arms, and you slide the skirt over her head. It glides down her torso smoothly enough, but when it reaches her hips, it refuses to budge any further. The waistband stretches and catches, settling just above the widest part of her ass. The skirt barely covers anything, resting precariously on the top of her cheeks.
Perfect, I'm ready for my close-up.
Her tone is playful, but there's a confidence in her stride as she moves to the set, her enormous backside swaying dramatically with each step. First poses are straightforward, standing shots with Sherry holding a prop book or leaning against a desk. But the poses quickly become more challenging, as the photographer requests actions designed for a much smaller model. When Sherry sits at the desk, the chair creaks ominously under her weight, her wide hips overflowing the sides and her massive thighs lifting the desk slightly. The photographer tries to frame the shot, but her size makes the proportions of the setup look comically small.
Oops, guess I'm a little too much for this desk.
She grins, shifting her weight to pose more comfortably, her belly pressing against the edge of the desk as she strikes a playful expression for the camera. Each movement sends ripples through her body, her massive backside jiggling with every shift as she turns to face different angles. When it's time for her lunch break, she returns to the wardrobe area, where a table has been set up with an impressive spread. Without hesitation, Sherry digs in, her appetite as impressive as her curves.
If they want indulgence, I'll give them indulgence.
She laughs, popping the first button on her shirt for some relief as her belly rounds out further with each bite. You watch as she works through plate after plate, her belly growing visibly fuller. The remaining buttons on her shirt strain against the pressure until one pops off with a dramatic ping, landing somewhere near the wardrobe rack.
Oops, I guess I'm officially on brand now.
She pats her belly with a satisfied grin, her breathing heavier as she reclines slightly in her chair, her massive hips spreading even wider.
You're really owning this shoot. It's incredible to watch.
Sherry's cheeks flush slightly, and she laughs softly, her gaze warm.
Thanks, that means a lot coming from you.
As lunch wraps up, Sherry returns to the set for the final shots, her confidence undiminished despite her growing fullness. Her movements are slower, but the sheer presence she commands makes every pose captivating. By the time the shoot ends, the crew is applauding, clearly impressed by her dedication and the unique energy she brings to the campaign.
Thanks for sticking with me today. Couldn't have done it without you.
Her words are soft, genuine, as she gathers her things. The sight of her massive curves silhouetted against the studio lights lingers in your mind as the two of you head out together.
I tried wearing heels today, but between the extra weight and the way my butt throws off my balance, disaster waiting to happen. Maybe it's time to embrace a new dance style. Tilda.
Her belly is stretched beyond reason, swollen into an impossibly large, taut dome that dominates the front of her body. Deep, flushed redness spreads across its vast surface, a visible testament to the sheer quantity of food packed inside her. She is at her absolute limit, yet she does not waver. Instead, she revels in it, her expression one of pure, unadulterated bliss. The pressure, the weight, the sheer mass of her gut, it excites her. Every breath is shallow, every slight movement sends a jolt through her overstuffed body. The heaviness of her stomach drags downward, nearly matching the absurd mass of her ass, forcing her into an arched posture just to compensate for the immense load. Her thickened legs, still formidable despite their softened state, are the only thing keeping her upright. They tremble with effort, yet they hold, giving her the stability she needs to linger in the moment. One hand instinctively clutches at whatever she can reach, her belly, a wall, the edge of a table, anything to help balance the overwhelming pull of her stuffed form. Her free hand kneads at the crest of her stomach, fingers pressing into the impossibly tight surface, relishing the sensation of fullness, of weight, of excess. Her breaths come in slow, heavy pants, her body adjusting to the sheer volume inside her. Yet, even now, the glint in her eye suggests that this will not be enough. It never is. Her belly is enormous, resting against her plush thighs as you rub deep into the heavy mass. She lets out a sultry moan, arching her back slightly. A thick slosh follows your movements, and Sherry whimpers, gripping your arm.
I can feel everything.
The crowd cheered wildly as Sherry took her first steps onto the red carpet, their applause echoing through the night as her figure commanded every gaze. Her plush backside sways prominently, the tight skirt struggling to keep up with her widened hips, the fabric stretched taut against the generous curve of her body. Her thighs pressed together fully now, the soft jiggle of her steps amplified by the applause around her, each step deliberate yet unhurried, her movements exuding effortless confidence.
Amazing job, Sherry. Need any help getting home?
Thanks, but I think getting into the car is going to be the hardest part of my night.
Reaching the car, she paused, her cheeks flushing as she assessed the challenge, the sleek vehicle looking almost comically small against her fuller figure. With a resigned sigh, she opened the door and turned sideways, her plush thighs spreading wide as she eased in, her movements careful and deliberate as she settled into the tight space. The car groaned under her weight, the suspension dipping significantly as it adjusted, the frame lowering visibly under the added pressure. Her belly pressed firmly against the steering wheel, folding softly over her thick thighs, her hands brushing the smooth curve as she adjusted herself with a quiet groan. She shifted back and forth, the creaking leather announcing her efforts as she found a position that felt somewhat comfortable despite the confined space. Her plush backside lifted her noticeably higher, her head brushing closer to the car's roof, the snug fit making every movement deliberate and precise. Closing the door took several tries, her hips compressing each time until it finally latched, the final sound a mix of satisfaction and relief. She adjusted her skirt, which has bunched up significantly, her cheeks glowing with embarrassment as she smoothed the fabric back into place with practiced ease.
This car was definitely not designed for all this.
Her voice carried a mix of humor and exasperation as she started the engine, the low rumble filling the air. With a sheepish wave, she drove off, the car's frame visibly shifting as it rolled into the night, the slight sway of the vehicle marking her departure.
Oof, I need a break. My belly is so heavy, I swear it's weighing me down. I leaned on the counter and my hips knocked over a tray of food. I am officially dangerous in tight spaces, and I kinda love it. Makes my dances extra eye-catching too, Tilda.
Sherry, seriously.
Sherry is surrounded by an array of empty trays, her face slightly flushed and her breathing heavier. Her skirt strained against her hips, the snug fabric outlining the curve of her rounded belly. She reached for a final croissant, her fingers sticky from the glaze of her last treat.
I couldn't let them go to waste.
Her tone was defensive, but the sheepish grin on her face betrayed her amusement. She bit into the croissant, the buttery layers crumbling onto her lap as she chewed. Each movement was slower now, her body shifting awkwardly as her fullness became undeniable.
You've cleaned out the display.
What can I say? I'm thorough.
She stifled a soft groan as she pats her belly, the roundness pressing firmly against her waistband. Despite her clear overindulgence, she swiped one last eclair, tucking it into her bag with a mischievous grin. Her movements were unhurried as she stood, her belly pressing against her skirt and causing the fabric to ride up slightly. She adjusted it with a flustered laugh, her cheeks glowing as she made her way out of the cafe. Her belly is stretched full, pressing out heavily as you rub slow, indulgent circles into her skin. A deep, contented sigh escapes her lips. Deep, desperate gasp leaves her lips as she lifts another bite, her gut surging forward with the motion, wobbling heavily in her lap. Her whole body trembles with the effort, each breath a shallow, shaky thing as she fights against her limits. But even as her stomach screams for mercy, she takes another bite, pushing herself just a little farther into the blissful, overwhelming fullness. Sherry steps into the room, hips swaying in slow, wide arcs. Her thighs rub constantly now, the nylon of her tights creaking with every motion. Her skirt is pulled so tightly over her rear that it rides up with each step. She steps onto the scale with a practiced sway of her hips, then steadies herself with a hand on her pillowy side. Wait, kg.
I think this might be the most I've ever weighed.
Her butt has become massive, round, soft, and undeniably heavy. Her tights sink into the generous swell of each cheek, outlining her curves in delicious detail. Her thighs quiver slightly as she shifts her weight. Even standing still, her lower half seems to bounce gently from its own inertia.
But I feel incredible, bigger, softer, warmer.
One more try.
This is it, I'm finishing today, or at least trying my best.
Sherry settles into the booth with a soft grunt, her thighs spreading wide beneath the table, pressing against its frame. Her sheer skirt rides up slightly over her widened hips, revealing more of her soft pink panties than intended. With a determined flick of her wrist, she grabs the fries first, scarfing them down with surprising speed. Her cheeks puff adorably as she munches, and each swallow sends a gentle ripple down her throat and into the swelling softness below. The first two burgers vanish in minutes. Grease shines on her lips and her cheeks are flushed with warmth and pleasure. She takes slow, deliberate sips of soda, the carbonation fizzing softly in her bloated stomach. By the time she unwraps the fourth burger, her pace begins to falter. Her round belly now presses boldly against the table, her top riding up just enough to reveal the lower curve of her stuffed stomach, where soft flesh spills softly over her waistband. Her breathing deepens, lips parting with quiet moans between bites. Her fingers linger on her belly occasionally, almost massaging it for comfort, as if coaxing herself forward. Each bite of the fifth burger feels like a marathon. She cradles the bun in trembling hands, gently pressing it to her lips. Her belly visibly rounds, pressing down into her lap and bulging outward against the limits of her clothes. She lets out a long, throaty sigh as she leans back, her body sinking into the booth with a pleased, heavy thump.
I can't believe I got this far, but I think I've hit my limit.
Her hands rest atop her overfed belly, the plush surface rising and falling with every shallow breath. She closes her eyes halfway, a dreamy, blissed-out smile forming as she basks in the fullness. The table before her is a battlefield of glistening wrappers and empty cartons. The air smells of fries and rich indulgence, thick with satisfaction. Sherry's cheeks are deeply flushed, her lips slightly parted, the glow on her face proof of her effort and her pleasure. Her heart thumps faster than normal, body humming with the overwhelming joy of gluttony. And even though she doesn't finish the whole thing, she's never looked prouder. The warm scent of rice and seared fish fills the air as you and Sherry step into the sushi buffet. The conveyor belt snakes through the restaurant, each plate a perfectly arranged temptation. Sherry takes a deep breath, her plush lips curling into a satisfied smirk. Even before sitting down, her wide hips sway with confidence, her thick thighs pressing together as she surveys the endless feast before her.
An all-you-can-eat sushi night with you. Hope you're ready to witness something legendary.
Her eyes gleam with excitement, but as she approaches the bar seating, a small problem becomes evident. The stools are close together, and Sherry hesitates for a moment, sizing up the space. One seat simply isn't going to cut it.
Maybe I should just take two, to spread out a little.
With a playful wink, she eases herself onto the double seats, her hips spilling over the edges, plush and unashamed. The slight creak beneath her weight is noticeable, but she simply shifts, letting herself get comfortable. The first plate glides toward her, and she doesn't hesitate. She snatches up a roll and pops it into her mouth, eyes fluttering shut as she savors the rich, salty flavor. One bite, then another, her pace steady and confident. Time passes in a blur of stacking plates. Sherry's belly swells gradually, her one-strim waist now plush with the sheer volume of food she's consumed. Her chopsticks pluck another roll from the conveyor, her movements slower now, her breath coming deeper as her growing stomach presses against the counter.
Ugh, okay, I might have overestimated my limits, but it's just too good.
Her fingers trail over the curve of her gut, feeling the firm roundness beneath her tight-fitting dress. She shifts slightly, adjusting her posture to accommodate the pressure. Despite her complaints, her gaze lingers on another plate of sushi, her resolve wavering.
You're already this far in. Might as well go all the way.
You're such a bad influence, I love it.
With a deep breath, she picks up another roll, pressing it between her lips and chewing slowly. She moans softly as the flavor washes over her, her belly visibly tightening with every bite. By the time the last plate settles onto the towering stack beside her, Sherry leans back, hands resting on the grand dome of her belly. She lets out a quiet, satisfied sigh, her eyelids heavy. The strain of her indulgence is evident, but so is her pleasure.
Ugh, I am absolutely stuffed, but I regret nothing.
She shifts in her seat, her overstuffed stomach pressing against the counter as she tries to sit up properly. The chairs groan beneath her as she readjusts, her thighs pressing together as she fights off the heaviness settling over her.
We're gonna need 3 seats next time.
Hey, don't tempt me, I might just take that as a challenge.
She smirks, shifting her weight with an exaggerated stretch, her belly wobbling with the motion. As you both exit the buffet, Sherry moves at a slower pace, one hand cradling her belly, the other occasionally brushing against yours.
You know, I think I could still go for dessert, but maybe we take this one to go.
She gives her belly a small, satisfied pat before linking her arm with yours, leading the way toward the next indulgence.
Oof, I just sat down and my hips mushed into the armrests. Gee, good thing this chair's sturdy.
Sherry is utterly overwhelmed by fullness, her belly packed beyond capacity, stretched tight and heavy against her frame. It pushes outward in a massive dome, rounding over her lap, her breath shallow as she cradles the aching swell. Every shift sends an audible slosh through its packed contents, her stomach working overtime to process the sheer amount inside. Thighs pressed tightly together, strain against the sheer bulk resting on top of them. Even her exaggerated backside, massive and wobbling behind her, is temporarily eclipsed by the sheer prominence of her belly. Every motion is careful, deliberate, her center of gravity thrown forward, forcing her to lean back just to counterbalance its heavy, sloshing weight. He runs her hands over the dome of her gut, fingers tracing over the taut, overstretched skin, pressing lightly to ease the tension. Her body radiates heat, sweat forming at her collarbone, trickling between the deepened valley of her cleavage, her breath coming slow and steady as she tries to accommodate the immense weight of her overindulgence. Despite the pressure, the ache, she can't help but revel in it, the sensation of being so utterly full, so helplessly stuffed. She bites her lip, shifting slightly, feeling her stomach churn and groan, a reminder that she's reached her limit, and yet she still craves more. Your palms press deeper, feeling the tension of her overstuffed belly beneath the soft give. She moans, biting her lip.
Ooh, don't stop.
She squirms, her breath coming in short gasps as your hands explore every inch.
Baby, you always know how to make me feel so good.
Sherry, you've been here for over an hour.
Sherry doesn't even flinch. She's perched at a corner table, surrounded by a small mountain of empty plates, wrappers, and napkins. Her pastel tank top rides high over her belly, which now spreads forward and sideways over the waistband of her skirt like a rising tide. She leans forward with effort, grabbing another Danish from the tray with icing sticky fingers. Her skirt digs deeply into her thick hips, the fabric wrinkled and rumpled as it struggles to stretch around her soft lower body.
I know, but I got into a rhythm, and they just keep bringing out fresh ones.
She bites into the Danish, her jaw working slowly now. Each chew is deliberate, her cheeks puffing and dimpling with effort. Her breathing has grown heavier, her chest rising and falling visibly beneath the now sweat-dotted fabric of her top. Her stomach gurgles faintly as she swallows, one hand absent-mindedly rubbing a soothing circle along the upper curve of her belly. It visibly trembles beneath her fingers, swollen and round from the sheer volume she's put away.
Okay, that one was probably the limit.
You say nothing as she reaches again, this time for a chocolate eclair. Her fingers tremble slightly from the strain of leaning forward. The motion pushes her belly tighter into the edge of the table, causing it to spread slightly to the sides, its mass dictating her posture now. She takes a bite, eyes fluttering shut as the creamy filling hits her tongue. Her lips part in a quiet moan of delight.
Oh, okay, I lied. This is the limit.
She leans back with a groan, hands resting on either side of her massive belly. It slopes out proudly, visibly overstuffed and stretching her waistband to its absolute limit. Her cheeks flush as she shifts, a soft gasp escaping her lips as her thighs press into the underside of the table, trapping her between it and her own stuffed middle.
You might have to help me out of this booth.
Sherry moans softly, her hands resting over yours as she guides you.
You've got the magic touch, baby.
Mall's atrium buzzed with activity, but the hum of conversation dimmed as Sherry waddled into view. Her massive hips swayed with ponderous grace, her skirt clinging desperately to her lower body, the hem visibly struggling to contain the round shelf of her backside. Her steps were heavy, deliberate, thighs pressing together with every roll of her hips. Each footfall drew subtle gasps and stares, the crowd parting slightly as she passed, her presence impossible to ignore. A group of teenage girls screamed with delight as they spotted her, the sheer size of her figure seeming larger than life to the awestruck fans. They rushed over, practically bouncing in place as they surrounded her. Sherry beamed despite her labored breath, her smile radiant as they begged for pictures, phones already held high. The group hesitated, unsure how to fit around her soft, expansive hips.
Seymour will make it work. Just squeeze in gently.
He shifted her weight with effort, the sound of her thighs brushing together loud and rhythmic as she spread her stance. The fans crowded in, pressing gently against the side of her plush form as she leaned forward slightly, her belly resting atop the waistband of her skirt. The camera flashed. Her immense curves filled nearly half the frame, her soft warmth pressing snugly against the giggling fans as they clutched her arms and waist for the shot. She straightened slowly with a soft grunt, brushing back her hair as her cheeks flushed from both the warmth of the moment and the mild strain of maneuvering her frame.
Thanks, sweethearts, but next time we might need a panoramic mode.
The girls squealed in agreement, skipping off with glowing smiles and bragging rights, leaving Sherry fanning herself gently with her hand, the fabric of her skirt bunched awkwardly under her belly.
You really gonna take on the WC Donald's challenge again?
Not just again, I'm gonna crush it twice.
Sherry lowers herself into the booth, the seat creaking beneath her softening figure. Her plush backside spreads across the bench as she scoots in, her thighs brushing the underside of the table. Before her sits the full spread, 5 greasy burgers, 3 large fries and 2 massive sodas. She ties her hair up, rolls her sleeves and smirks.
Alright, round 1, let's dance.
She begins devouring with gusto. Her fingers glide through the first burger, lips glossy with grease, soft moans escaping between bites. She paces herself with fries and gulps of soda, barely stopping to breathe. By the 4th burger, her belly swells outward, visibly rounding beneath her top as she shifts in her seat, thighs spreading wider.
NNNHH, almost there.
Her cheeks puff as she swallows the last bites, her midsection ballooning outward with visible tension. She wipes her mouth and reclines with a winded huff, her hand caressing the firm swell of her gut.
Done, that's 1.
Then she pauses, her eyes drift toward the counter, and a wicked grin spreads across her face.
You know what, I'm not done.
She orders a second round, 5 more burgers, 3 more fries and another soda. When the tray hits the table, even she gulps. She starts slow this time. The 6th burger feels heavier in her hand. She chews slower, her belly groaning audibly beneath the table as she shifts to make room. Each gulp of soda is met with a hiccup or a low moan, her belly visibly sloshing as she adjusts her seat. Her skirt has ridden up fully, her rounded belly cresting over her waistband.
HRRGGH, okay, 1 more burger, and maybe the soda.
She finishes the 7th burger bite by labored bite, then slowly nurses the 3rd soda with shaky hands. Her gut balloons outward, pressing tightly against the edge of the table, her cheeks flushed and sweaty. By the final gulp, she leans back with a loud, relieved moan. Her stuffed belly surges up in her lap, round and taut like a drum.
Ugh, I am absolutely done. I'm gonna need a forklift.
She fans herself with a napkin, both hands holding her gut as it gurgles and churns. The table is covered in wrappers, an achievement in greasy, glorious excess. Sherry waddles in slowly, her body moving with deliberate, exaggerated sensuality. Her thighs press together the whole way down, forcing her hips to sway just to move forward. She steps onto the scale, her butt jiggling audibly behind her as she exhales. Wait, kg.
Iba just keeps climbing.
Her skirt is useless now, more a belt than anything, hiked high over her hips and barely covering anything. Her tights are stretched so tight they look painted on, visibly digging into the overflowing softness of her thighs. From behind, her cheeks wobble like jello with every breath. Each movement seems to echo through her hips.
I guess I'm not just curvy anymore, I'm plush.
Sherry's body has taken on an undeniably decadent shape, her once lithe frame now swallowed by plush curves. The weight of her ass alone is staggering, jutting out behind her in an expanse of softness that wobbles with each step. Her panties have long disappeared between the massive globes, only the waistband peeking above the layered fat, a teasing hint of just how deeply they've been swallowed. Thighs now thick enough to touch even when she tries to stand straight, move in a slow, deliberate rhythm, the friction between them a constant, intimate sensation. Each movement sets off a chain reaction through her lower body, a hypnotic display of her sheer size. Above it all, the slight swell of her belly pushes outward, soft yet unintrusive, no longer the flat, toned stomach she once had. Her top struggles to keep up, rolling higher with each movement, exposing more of her middle. The gentle curve of her stomach shifts with every breath, a newfound weight she's still adjusting to. When she sits, it rounds ever so slightly over her waistband, a sign of indulgences she no longer denies herself. Even standing still, her body is in motion. Every inhale expands her belly slightly, every shift of weight sends a slow ripple through her form. She no longer fights it, this is who she is now, and the way her body moves is nothing short of mesmerizing.
I leaned on a counter and oops, my belly touched it before my hands did. Gee, guess I've grown a bit, huh? I leaned on a counter and oops. I feel like my hips enter a room before the rest of me now. They just sway so much.
Sherry's jaw moves sluggishly, her breath shuddering as she forces another bite between her lips, the weight of her stomach pressing her deep into her chair, leaving her barely able to shift. Sherry enters the mirrored dance studio, sweat already glistening faintly on her skin before she even starts. Her skirt clings tightly to her expansive lower half, bunched slightly where her plush thighs force it to ride up. Her pastel tank top stretches tautly across her modest belly, her hips visibly wider than ever before. She stops in front of the mirror, adjusting her waistband with both hands as she exhales slowly. Her cheeks, on her face and otherwise, are already a little flushed from the effort of walking in. Music kicks in, and she begins to move, but immediately her heavy lower half begins to fight her. Her thick thighs slap together with every step, creating a rhythmic thud beneath the beat. Each sway of her hips sends her skirt fluttering before catching on the fullness of her rear. She spins and her momentum lags behind, her cheeks bounce and clap together seconds after the rest of her turns. The soft echo of impact fills the studio as she stumbles slightly, struggling to stabilize her balance.
Oof, okay, you've got this, just maybe fewer spins.
Undeterred, she sways and steps, her movements more grounded now. Her feet slide deliberately, her thighs brushing so heavily that each step brings a grunt. Her cheeks jiggle with every pulse of the beat, the rear of her skirt flaring and falling with each dramatic movement. She attempts a leap. The landing is heavy, her body shuddering with impact. Her backside ripples with a visible quake, and she stifles a laugh as she plants her hands on her hips.
I swear my butt landed a full second after I did.
The routine slows, her stamina fading fast. Sweat rolls down her temples and she wipes it with the back of her hand, breathing heavily. She catches her reflection again, her thick hips, shaking thighs and jiggling backside filling the mirror, and a sly smile crosses her lips.
Okay, maybe I can't fly across the floor anymore, but damn, do I leave an impression.
She finishes the routine with a dramatic hip pop, her cheeks clapping audibly beneath her skirt as she holds the pose, panting but smiling. Grabbing her towel, she wipes her face and hips slowly, giving her swollen cheeks a gentle slap as she heads for the water station, her hips swaying wide with every exhausted step. The crowd roars as Sherry steps onto the red carpet, the flashes of cameras lighting up her curvy silhouette. Her hips are wider than ever, swaying with deliberate slowness, her thick thighs brushing together audibly with every powerful step. Her black skirt clings desperately to her oversized backside, the fabric creaking faintly as it stretches across her round cheeks. Her strut is slower now, every step a careful negotiation of momentum and balance.
You were incredible tonight, heading home.
If I can still fit in that car, we'll see.
She approaches her sports car, the low, sleek profile now comically small against her widened frame. She hesitates at the door, adjusting her skirt as it rides up over her thick thighs and the rising dome of her soft belly. Opening the door, she turns sideways, her plush rear bumping against the doorframe with a soft thud. She exhales slowly, then eases herself in inch by wobbling inch. The suspension groans loudly under her weight, the car noticeably sinking on one side as she finally lowers herself onto the seat. Her hips spread across the cushions, overflowing past the bolsters, while her belly rests heavily atop her lap. She tries to shift, but her thighs are pressed firmly against the steering column, and her backside lifts her closer to the roof than ever.
Okay, this is officially ridiculous.
She grunts softly as she tugs at the seatbelt, struggling to drag it across her belly. The strap barely clicks into place, hugging the plush curve of her gut snugly.
Do you need help?
Only if you brought a shoehorn and a crowbar.
She laughs breathlessly, cheeks flushed, one hand rubbing the side of her thigh as she wiggles into position. The door finally shuts with a deep thud, her skirt bunched up under her belly and her knees brushing the dashboard. With a slow breath and a wave, she starts the car. The engine whines under the extra load, and as she rolls away, the car dips dramatically, her wide hips barely clearing the frame.
I can feel my belly press into my thighs every time I sit. It's so soft and heavy now.
Sherry's new skirt, tailored specifically for her ever-expanding curves, does little to conceal the sheer enormity of her lower half. The sleek black fabric clings to her form, accentuating every curve, every jiggle, every shift of her massive, dominant ass. Her panties, though buried beneath layers of plush softness, leave distinct outlines through the tight material. They dig into the yielding flesh of her hips and cheeks, forming visible ridges where they struggle to contain the sheer expanse of her lower body. The bottom hem of her skirt barely does its job, betraying glimpses of the overstretched panties beneath, their edges peeking out from where her fat ass refuses to be contained. With each step, her ass cheeks wobble independently, only barely restrained by the straining fabric. Her arms have grown soft, thick pillows of plush flesh, sinking easily under even the lightest pressure. Once toned and delicate, they now possess a weighty softness that would seem exaggerated, if not for the fact that they pale in comparison to the sheer size of her ass. Her ass is its own entity, rising high up her back, pressing outward so dramatically that it reaches her ribcage, a vast shelf of heavy, quivering flesh. The mere act of walking turns into an event, each cheek moving on its own, an unstoppable force only barely held together by the tight embrace of her skirt. Sherry enters with slow, heavy steps. Her thick thighs nearly knock together with each motion, and her shelf-like rear wobbles behind her with hypnotic rhythm. She eases herself onto the scale with both hands resting on her lower back, supporting the considerable mass of her behind. Wait, kg.
Wow, I'm really getting up there.
Her tights look ready to split down the middle, riding deep into the crease between her enormous cheeks. Her hips have spread wide, forming a luxurious curve from waist to thigh. Even the top of her thighs have grown doughy, pressing into her lower belly as she stands. Her rear jiggles with the tiniest shift, jostling left and right with a mind of its own.
I used to be known for my voice, now it's my thighs.
She gasps as you press deeper, her thighs rubbing together as she shifts.
I think I've gotten a little too big for my own good.
The neon glow of the karaoke lounge casts a playful hue across the plush seating as you step inside with Sherry. The air is filled with music, muffled laughter, and the distant clatter of dishes being set down. Sherry's eyes light up as she glances over the touchscreen menu, her wide hips swaying as she flops onto the couch. The seat visibly compresses under her weight, her thick thighs spreading comfortably.
Ooh, they've got everything here. Music, booze, and food. This is my kinda place. Hope you're ready for a show, because I am about to give you the performance of a lifetime.
She wastes no time scrolling through the menu, her plump fingers dancing over the screen as she starts ordering. Plates begin arriving almost immediately: fried chicken, skewers, sushi rolls, fries, and more, each dish stacked onto the growing spread in front of her. Sherry leans back, microphone in one hand, a skewer in the other. She takes a bite, chewing quickly before dramatically pointing at the screen as the music starts up.
Alright, let's do this.
She launches into her first song, her voice sultry and confident, perfectly in tune. Between verses, she grabs another bite, her belly pressing against the table as she leans forward. Her appetite is as insatiable as her energy, her singing undeterred by the sheer volume of food she's packing away. As the night goes on, the empty plates pile up, her belly steadily rounding out. Her once snug top strains, the fabric hugging every curve. She adjusts her seating, sinking deeper into the couch, one hand lazily rubbing her stomach.
Ugh, I swear I didn't think I could fit another bite, but these dumplings look so good.
Despite her words, she grabs another, stuffing it into her mouth mid-song. Her voice wavers slightly, but she keeps going, determined to finish both the food and the performance.
You can't stop now, you're on a roll.
Huh, you just wanna see how much I can fit, don't you?
She grins, grabbing another handful of fries, tossing them back before belting out the next chorus, her belly pushing harder against the table as she fills up further. By the time she finishes her last song, Sherry is practically sprawled against the couch, her belly visibly swollen beneath her tight top. Her fingers trace idle circles against its curve as she catches her breath, cheeks flushed from both exertion and indulgence.
Oof, alright, I think I might actually be done. That was intense.
She lets out a quiet burp, covering her mouth before giggling, her belly jiggling slightly from the motion.
Come on, let's get you on your feet.
She takes your hand, using it for support as she hoists herself up. The motion presses her stuffed belly against you, her weight leaning into your side as she steadies herself.
You're really making yourself useful tonight.
As you both step out of the karaoke lounge, Sherry stretches her arms over her head, her belly pressing forward before she gives it one last contented pat.
Alright, next time I pick the playlist, and we definitely pregame with food again.
With a playful wink, she loops her arm through yours, her steps slow but satisfied as she leans against you. She shudders, thighs pressing together as your hands explore the sheer size of her stomach.
I don't think I can take much more.
Sherry's body has reached a point of near mobility, her enormous belly dominating her figure, pushing outward with such relentless force that even her absurdly large ass struggles to counterbalance it. It has grown beyond reason, a thick, heavy mass that stretches her waistline to near impossible widths. The sheer volume of her belly has forced her love handles outward, expanding her form even further, exaggerating her already massive curves. Where once her ass was the widest part of her, now her waistline competes, her gut hanging outward and downward, pooling past her knees in a soft, rolling cascade of excess. The weight is staggering. Each attempt to stand, to move, to adjust herself requires conscious effort. Thankfully, her gigantic ass serves as a natural counterweight, preventing her from tipping forward under the relentless pull of her belly, barely allowing her to stand up straight. Her skin glows with a sheen of warmth, stretched taut over the immense amount of food packed inside her overburdened gut. It almost shimmers, as if the sheer volume of calories consumed is radiating from her, her body working tirelessly to process the impossible quantities she has ingested. Each breath is slow, measured, her body heaving with exertion. The excess weight of her belly presses against her lungs, making even the simplest movements a deliberate effort. Every step sends deep, slow waves through her flab, her skin shifting like the surface of an overfilled water balloon. She pants softly, her thighs spread wide, struggling to support the titanic burden of her upper half. Her skirt, a mere afterthought at this point, is all but consumed by the immense weight pressing down over it, a last-ditch attempt to preserve modesty against the overwhelming mass of her form.
You've eaten half the cafe.
Sherry doesn't even look up. She's slumped in a plush chair now, a fortress of crumpled wrappers and pastry boxes surrounding her like sugary battlements. Her belly dominates the table in front of her, round, wobbling, and completely unrestrained, having popped all but the last button of her poor, stretched skirt. Her tank top barely clings to her upper chest, rolled upward by the sheer force of her gut pressing outward. Her thick thighs are spread wide, her legs planted to anchor her from tipping under her own overindulgence.
I was so close to finishing the tray. I can't give up now.
She wheezes slightly as she lifts the last powdered croissant to her mouth. Her arm trembles from the effort, and her swollen belly surges forward with each breath, jiggling with the smallest movement. She bites down, cheeks puffing, powdered sugar dusting her lips and the soft swell of her belly. Her fingers leave sticky trails as they fall onto her stomach, instinctively cradling it. A long, low moan escapes her as she chews. The croissant is barely swallowed before she leans back with a groan, the full arc of her gut pressing against the edge of the table. Her belly surges forward, rounding into her lap and bulging over her skirt.
NNNGH, I don't think I can move.
Her thighs tremble slightly as she tries shifting. The chair creaks under her, the thick dough of her hips spilling outward on either side. Despite herself, her hand gropes blindly for another treat. Her palm finds a chocolate tart. Her breath hitches as she brings it slowly to her mouth. Her belly surges outward again with a gurgle, her eyes close in exhausted bliss as she licks the last smear of ganache from her lips.
I think I just achieved enlightenment.
Her hands rest helplessly on her mound of a stomach. It lifts and falls with each labored breath, audibly gurgling beneath her fingers. The entire cafe seems to tilt around her soft, sprawling form.
You can't even get up, can you?
Not without a forklift and a rescue team, but God, that was worth it.
Her cheeks are flushed, her grin dazed. One hand continues rubbing slow circles over her belly, while the other clutches an uneaten eclair like a victory prize. She's not just full, she's conquered by pastry. Sherry waddles into the dance studio slowly, every step causing her thick thighs to grind together in a near-constant friction that forces her legs wide apart. Her skirt is practically painted on, its fabric bunching over the top of her shelf-like backside. Her pastel tank top barely stretches across her soft belly, riding up just enough to reveal a jiggling undercurve. She stops at the mirror, panting slightly from the walk alone, and places both hands on her hips, her arms barely spanning the full width. Her rear behind her quakes faintly even as she stands still, an exaggerated motion left over from the swaying walk. With a deep breath, she taps her playlist. The music starts and so does the battle. Her first steps are slow, her thighs audibly rubbing. Each one sends her rear bouncing like it's in slow motion, the momentum from even the smallest sway making her cheeks clap together with a muffled slap. Her skirt struggles to stay in place, rolling upward with every bounce until it barely covers the top third of her monumental backside. She spins and nearly tumbles, her momentum is impossible to manage. Her cheeks swing wide in either direction, each turn dragging her center of gravity with them.
Whoa, okay, maybe spins are off the table.
She tries a leap, it becomes a deep, bouncing stomp instead. The floor thuds beneath her, her rear crashes downward with enough force to bounce visibly twice after she lands. The sound alone echoes like someone dropping a mattress. She laughs breathlessly, pressing one hand to her belly and the other to her hip as she slows to catch her breath. Her tank top clings to her torso, soaked in sweat, sticking to every roll and curve. Still, she refuses to quit. She adjusts her skirt, wipes her brow and begins swaying her hips in place. If she can't leap or spin, she'll hypnotize. Her cheeks sway like twin metronomes behind her, heavy and full. Each step shakes them violently, her entire backside rippling beneath the fabric, drawing an accidental rhythm of claps with the music. She ends the routine with one last, dramatic hip thrust. The aftershock of that motion leaves her gasping as her rear claps audibly again and again, each bounce echoing louder than her exhale. She collapses onto the bench nearby, wiping at her soaked face, her chest heaving and her body glistening.
That was a workout, just getting through it. I think my butt's got its own tempo now.
She fans herself with the hem of her tank top, her wide thighs spread and trembling from effort, her massive backside overflowing off the edge of the bench. But her smile still radiant.
If I ever do a solo performance, I'm just gonna shake and let them watch.
All conversation in the atrium seemed to cease as Sherry entered, her immense hips swinging in slow, deliberate rhythm. Her skirt was practically painted on, stretched to its absolute limit across her overflowing backside, which bounced and jiggled with every thunderous step. Her gait had slowed to a full-bodied waddle, each motion causing ripples through her thick thighs and plush cheeks. Her belly pressed against her skirt's waistband, folding gently atop her thighs as she stopped to catch her breath. Suddenly, a group of teenage girls erupted with squeals of excitement. Spotting Sherry, they darted toward her in a flurry of motion, their energy crashing against the immovable wall of Sherry's mass. She laughed warmly, albeit breathlessly, her hands resting atop the generous swell of her hips as they begged for a photo.
All right, just find some space somewhere.
With effort, she leaned slightly forward, her belly pressing out in front of her while her hips took up most of the bench behind her. The girls huddled awkwardly around her, some having to squat, others squeezed in tight against the wide arc of her rear. The camera clicked. Sherry's plush body filled the center of the shot, her softness pressing firmly against the girls on either side. Her breath was shallow, her smile wide, cheeks flushed as she adjusted her posture slowly. As they backed away, she reached to smooth her skirt, only to find it had ridden high up the curve of her backside, exposing just enough to turn a few heads. With a mortified giggle, she tugged it back down, only half successfully.
That was a workout, but worth every squish.
She gave a wave, her enormous hips swaying in slow motion as she turned to go, her skirt rising again with every wobbling step. The group of fans stood frozen, breathless with joy, phones clutched to their chests as they replayed the unforgettable moment again and again. The crowd erupts as Sherry waddles slowly onto the red carpet, every step a labored roll of her hips. Her massive backside wobbles in exaggerated waves, her overburdened skirt riding so high it barely conceals the lower curve of her cheeks. Flashes illuminate the sheen of sweat on her flushed skin, her gait uneven as her immense thighs press together, forcing her to shuffle more than walk.
You crushed it out there. Can you even make it to the car?
One slow-mo strut at a time.
She finally reaches her car, stopping to catch her breath. Her belly billows forward, pressing softly against the vehicle as she opens the door. Her eyes scan the impossibly tight interior with dread. With a loud groan, she turns sideways and braces herself, gripping the top of the doorframe. Her plush thighs quiver with effort as she begins lowering herself in, her immense cheeks dragging along the door and seat edge simultaneously. The car shudders violently as she settles in, the suspension squeaking as it sinks under her bulk. Her hips wedge into the sides of the seat, her belly overflowing into her lap, pushing against the wheel with no room to spare.
Oof, I think I just compressed the chassis.
She adjusts herself with small bounces, the entire car rocking with each motion. Her skirt is completely bunched around her waist now, her belly doming high over her thighs, which are jammed against the underside of the wheel. With visible effort, she leans to the side to grab the door and slams it shut, barely clearing the curve of her hips.
Remind me why I didn't buy a minivan.
She chuckles breathlessly, both hands resting atop her belly. She reaches for the ignition, only to find her belly blocking her reach. A few grunts later, she adjusts with a wince and gets it started. As she drives off, the rear of the car scrapes softly against the pavement, dipping with each bump as the suspension strains to contain her. The crowd behind her fades, but the image of her massive body, wedged inside that tiny car, will linger in everyone's mind.
You're seriously doing the challenge again.
Not just again, twice tonight right here.
Sherry squeezes into the booth with difficulty, her thick thighs spreading across the seat, plush cheeks nearly spilling over the edge. Her belly, already plump from recent indulgences, brushes the table as she inhales deeply. 10 burgers, 6 fries, 4 sodas. She stares them down like a champion entering the ring.
Let's make history.
She begins with aggressive speed, tackling burgers and fries with practiced bites, gulping soda between mouthfuls. Her soft moans mix with the sizzle of grease, her jaw working tirelessly. By the 4th burger, her pace slows. Her midriff bulges under her blouse, her gut pushing tightly against the table. She shifts, adjusting her skirt where it's ridden up past her hips. With a heavy breath, she pushes through the 5th burger. The fries crunch under her fingers, but her lips barely part for them.
First round complete.
But she doesn't stop. With trembling fingers, she reaches for burger 6.
Come on, girl, dig deep.
Her belly rounds further as she eats, taut and heavy. The seat groans, the table creaks, her breathing shallows. The 7th and 8th burgers take everything she has. Her eyes glass over, her belly surging forward in her lap, quaking with every movement. She groans, lifting her gut with both arms for a moment, trying to make room. Her top is soaked with sweat, clinging to her heavy belly.
Fries too, can't leave soldiers behind.
She forces herself to eat a fourth carton, each fry like a final trial. The last soda dribbles down her chin as she gulps it slowly, lips trembling. When it's finally done, she collapses back into the booth. Her belly domes high, round, and wobbling with every breath. Her thighs are fully spread, her gut covering most of her lap.
Yo, I did it. I actually did it.
She doesn't move, she can't. Her body is soft and quivering, flushed and glowing from the sheer indulgence. The wrappers and cartons surround her like confetti after a feast, a decadent monument to her gluttonous triumph. She shudders, thighs pressing together as your hands explore the sheer size of her stomach.
I don't think I can take much more.